Hi, it's Yetta Decker with the Decker team, and Ken Decker is here with me today, and we're here with you on the inside track on real estate. We're so excited that you continue to join us and you're here again, or maybe it's your first time watching, and this is a real estate show on all aspects of real estate. So it's the inside track on real estate with the Decker team, brought to you at least an episode a week, about 30 minutes in length. And you are welcome to send in your suggestions, your questions, your topics, so that we can make sure anything that's important to you we cover if we haven't already covered it, or maybe we'll cover it in more detail. So you would connect with us at Decker Team at CHRI. And Ken,
and they might not be watching. You said they were watching?
Oh, yeah,
they
maybe
might
you're
be listening. Because this is a radio show, but we also happen to video record so you can see our smiling faces.
And, most of the time we're smiling.
And enjoy our bantering back and forth a little bit every once in a while.
Right. And so today we're going to talk about timeshare and fractional ownership of primarily vacation property would be what we'd be generally speaking about.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah, because we're going to talk more in the area of real estate. I mean, you could fractional ownership a airplane, or you could fractionally ownership a boat, that kind of thing as well. But we'll primarily be talking about real estate.
You know, they're even doing cars now. For people that, spend a month or two in Florida and don't want a car for 12 months, so they'll fractional a car.
Yeah, we had some friends, we were talking about that just on the weekend about doing that. So today we're going to talk about real estate in relation to timeshares and fractional ownership. So Ken, there's a lot of difference between timeshare and fractional.
There's a big difference.
And I think there's a lot of confusion out there about exactly what the differences are. They sound similar, and I think sometimes the words are interchanged when people talk about timeshare. They also use the word fractional, and yet I know them to be an incredibly different thing. So Ken, what are they? Can you give just a brief description of each independent and then maybe some differences?
Sure. Timeshare typically came out probably in Switzerland, where it was very expensive to get a cottage on the water, and so they created this thing of time sharing where you only could use it for a couple weeks, so you would buy a couple weeks of the cottage.
Of time
in that cottage. And that would work well, and timeshare's got a little bit of a bum rap because they're high pressure sales typically. They might give you some promotions to come out to their site and see what they have, and most people are wowed because they're beautiful.
They are beautiful.
Most of the timeshares are really beautiful. They're 5-star. They're quality. They're generally set in settings where there's a lovely, there's a lake there, or beautiful golf courses, or mountains, or skiing,
or in the tropics.
Caribbean.
I like the tropic
beaches,
ones.
So there are places where people want to go, but necessarily can't stay there all their life right yet, but maybe want to spend a few weeks there. Now, the advantage of a timeshare was that they created a pooling effect, and you could actually trade your week for either a different week or a different location. Sometimes they're permanent weeks, so the week you buy is the week you always have, but you can trade it for a different location.
Or a different week,
and sometimes depending on the product you bought. They're becoming more and more flexible because people were demanding flexibility with their scheduling. They're not getting the same week off every year. And so timeshares started to get a bad rap because of the high pressure sales and the promotions. You get there and they go, well, you'll have your choice of a watch, or or you might win a TV or whatever. So you go up there to wherever it is. I know we went to one, and we bought our first timeshare, and then actually turned around a day later and said, ooh, we made a mistake, and we canceled it. Now, we lost our deposit, which was like $400 or something, but there is a cooling off period with timeshares, which is an important thing to know, that you do have the ability to pull back and go, oh, I made a mistake.
Because the pressure is significant often when you're sitting in a presentation. So even though you're not feeling you want to make the decision, and we said before we walked in there, we're not going to do this. We're salespeople. We understand this process. We're not high pressure. However, we know that there's some industries that are, or aspects of our industry. And so we determined we were not going to do this thing, and yet we walked out having done it after feeling the pressure.
They keep making the deal better and better and tell you that it's not going to be there. If you go away and think about it, it's not going to be there. So that's where the pressure comes in. Now, do we own timeshares?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
We've purchased a couple now over the years, and I think initially when we did it, it wasn't necessarily because they were amazing value. It was more they forced us to take vacation. We felt like we had prepaid our vacation, so now we couldn't just stay home and keep working.
Yes.
Because that was a real tendency of mine.
Yes. So they're now changing the name from timeshare because it's got a bit of a bad rap. Sometimes it's called a vacation club.
Right.
Vacation clubs are very nice.
They are.
Wouldn't you like to be a member of a vacation club?
We are.
We did. We bought one in Mexico because and we love it there.
Yeah.
And so we can exchange it for another timeshare or whatever. So we now own 2 timeshares. As far as investments go, 2 thumbs down.
Right.
Right? They're not the best investment.
No, not generally speaking, because if I want to resell them, I'm not going to be able to sell them for what I paid for them, and I've had my money invested in that, and I say invested very loosely, but put in that product for a period of time, and there's no return on investment. I think generally just they go down in value.
Yes.
I don't even think they keep up with the rate of inflation.
No, usually you'll get maybe a quarter of what you paid for it. The other thing is timeshares are typically expire. They have a certain number of weeks. You might buy 88 weeks, or you might buy 44 weeks, or it might be for 60 years of time. So there's a specific amount of time, and then you use it up. And that's really where fractional becomes a big difference. And be careful, because they're now calling timeshare fractional ownership. But be really careful, because to me, fractional ownership is you own a piece of the title. You are on title for that particular property.
Right. Whereas with timeshare, what you own is a chunk of time. You don't actually, you're
and time expires, doesn't
right,
it?
time expires. So you really have access to the property for a period of time, for a specified number of weeks, for a certain number of years. It may be years or weeks, depending on how it's calculated. But it's time that you're purchasing. So you're not actually having title to the property. Mm-hmm. Whereas with fractional...
Yeah, and fractionals are usually a little longer. They're maybe 1/12 of the value of the property, or 1/10. Because typically they keep some weeks that are for maintenance, and weeks that are basically flex weeks that people can move their week around a little bit, or that they can rent to help cover some of the costs of maintaining the property. Now with a fractional and timeshares, there's a maintenance cost.
Right.
And in some of the timeshares, your maintenance cost happens every year, whether you use your week or not. And it could be anywhere from $400 to $800.
Oh, $1,000, $1,200.
Yeah. And that covers the maintenance, the cleaning, the insurance, the taxes. It covers everything on your property for that week. Now, they also happen in fractionals. Because you're a part owner, you're a 12th owner or a 10th owner, then you're responsible for 1/10 or 1/12 of the cost of maintaining that property, of taxes, insurance, and cleaning and maintenance. Now the beauty is, as opposed to owning a cottage where you may buy and live, have the cottage year-round or seasonal, you're responsible for the maintenance, and you're responsible for going up and cutting the grass and winterizing it if you need to winterize it in the fall. And it's really 100% of it is your responsibility. You have to change the sheets. If it doesn't have laundry facilities there, you got to cart them back home and cart them back the next week or whenever you're going to be there. So it's a little.
Well, and you're fully responsible for the cost all the time, even if you're not using it. The costs associated with owning it, whether it be the mortgage on the property or just the maintenance cost, you're constantly responsible for that. Whereas with a fractional, the beauty is, if I'm only going to use it for 4 weeks, I'm only responsible for approximately that portion.
Right. And the same thing with, that's why fractionals have become so popular on high expense things like boats. To buy a boat that is, 40-foot or 60-foot cruiser is huge money, and you may only spend 40 or 50 hours on it a year, or 100 hours a year, or an airplane that you might fly 50 hours a year or 100 hours a year. Why own it for the whole time period? Because it's a very expensive piece of machinery. You might as well have it in use, and all of you share the maintenance based on the number of hours you put on it. So there's good programs there. Now, fractionals in resort property is hugely popular. Now, the type of fractional that I'm going to be talking about the rest of the show is more a permanent fractional. You will be owning a piece of a particular house on a particular lake that is yours, and you own 1/12 of it value. So you could sell that. If you lived in it for, you used it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, decided that's not where I want to be anymore, I get relocated or whatever, I can sell that fraction to one of the other owners or to someone else I know, or I can put it on the market and sell it because I actually own a piece of title. And as the value of the property goes up, I actually make money on it.
Right, so there's actually appreciation on fractional ownership of real estate.
Right.
Provided the market's going up, which in our area generally is the case.
Mm-hmm. Now the other advantage is, let's say I have, say $150,000 to spend. And I come to you, Yetta, and I say, Yetta, I've got $150,000 to spend on a cottage. What can you get me?
Not much.
Not much. Okay.
It's really going to depend on how far out of town you're willing to go. Mm-hmm. And does it have to actually be waterfront, or can it just be close to waterfront would be the next conversation or the next question. And also, does it have to be winterized? Does it have to be seasonal? And of course, when you're dealing with cottages, if they're seasonal, it's much more difficult to finance, right? So your cost of being able to finance cottage property is very dependent on exactly how much of the year it can be used. Does it have well? Does it have septic? What are the amenities available with it and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's a second home. Most people would be maybe putting it on a line of credit on their house or refinancing their house so that they buy the cottage.
Or paying for it outright.
Yeah, or they paid off their house and now they've got a loan for a cottage or a mortgage
or they just have that much cash floating around.
That can happen.
That happens too. We get to see that quite often.
So the disadvantage of a fractional is financing. Right. It's difficult to finance it. You need to use the equity in your home, or you need to use your own cash to buy a fractional. The advantage is there's no payments. Right. So the worst thing to do is have a cottage that now straps you because you're making monthly payments on it. You're paying the taxes on it every, either monthly or yearly. You're paying the insurance and everything for the whole thing. And then you feel guilty because you can't get there enough. Right. Because you're working and your lifestyle doesn't allow you to be at the cottage all summer or winter and that sort of thing. Whereas the fractional, yes, you've got to come up with the money cash to buy it, but the ongoing costs are not the same. They're not as expensive. The other beauty is, for that $150,000, you can buy a fractional of $1.5 million lake house. Right? And this $1.5 million lake house is like 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. You can bring your if you got older children, you can bring them and their families with you. Like it's a real lake house. We're not talking, the old cottage that we used to go up to and had no water pressure. And this is a high quality luxury $1.5 million home that most people wouldn't be able to afford to live in, never mind have as a vacation home.
Yeah, so it just becomes a vacation destination for approximately 4 weeks of the year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Ken, you're excited about this particular fractional ownership. We've been talking in generalities right now. If you're just joining us, you're joining us on the Inside Track on real estate with the Decker team. And today we're talking about fractional ownership of resort property primarily. That's what we'll chat about for the rest of this show. And also just want to remind you that we have coming up on August 18th, 2012, the Ottawa Home Hunt. And the grand prize is $10,000. If you haven't already registered, I'd suggest you check it out. We just need 2 folks participating together. Each team will consist of 2 people. Registration fee is free. There is no cost to you. And you'll need a car and you'll need a cell phone that has the ability to text and that kind of stuff on it. So if you want to join us, check out ottawahomehunt.com. That's right. Can't forget that, ottawahomehunt.com, and it's a scavenger type hunt. And let's get back to the show on fractional ownership, and in particular this $1.5 million property that you're so excited about, Ken.
Yeah, because I'm one of the owners, actually.
I know.
I've found the property. It's up near Lac Ste. Marie. It's actually on the Gatineau River on the peninsula, that when you wrap around that peninsula, you come into Lac Ste. Marie. And so you've got a wide open lake there and lots of mileage that you can boat on the Gatineau River. Fishing is fantastic. There's hunting in the area. There's snowmobiling. There's skiing. Skiing's 5 minutes away. It's a lovely ski resort, has a 4-person high-speed chairlift. They're just starting to upgrade that facility. It's a great spot. There is golfing. So you can golf, ski, snowmobile, fish, hunt, boat.
Relax,
swim. Everything's there for all 4 seasons. So it fits this fractional idea perfectly, because a fraction will be basically 1/12. You'll have 1/12 ownership, and you'll get for that 4 weeks of usable time that you can book the property. And that time will be in quarters. So you'll get one week in the first quarter, second week in the third quarter of the year, fourth quarter, and fifth quarter. And the way we designed
get 5 quarters?
Sorry. Did I say fifth quarter?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. That's a fallacy. There's only 4 quarters. So you'll get
a week in each
quarter. There are some flex weeks that you can move your week around. And what will happen is you'll pick a particular week, and then that week will rotate around the clock. So if you got January 1st, the first year, then you'll get the second week in January, the second year.
And you can trade with the other owners if you want as well. So it gives you lots of flexibility that way. But just to have a fair system, not because for one person to always have January, New Year's wouldn't necessarily be just. And so everybody gets a chance at it. And if they want to trade it around, that's certainly flexible.
Right. And really what's going to happen is, although you're going to own 1/12, I'm only shelling seashells by the seashore. Sally sees, Anyway, I'm only selling 9 shares. So there'll be 9 weeks, and then I'll own the remaining weeks, or 9 fractions. So and then that will allow some extra flex weeks in there. So there'll be 9 owners other than myself and you.
Well, I get to go along for the ride.
Yes. And even sometimes people will not rent, but buy the fraction with someone that they know, so that they could do a half fraction. So if $150,000 is too tight a price range, they might do a half of a fraction, or they might buy 2 fractions because they're going with another family and they want to go there together. They're the type of people that like to vacation together. And the property is large enough to handle that.
Right, and there may be folks that want to purchase 2 to 3 fractions all for themselves. They don't have to share them.
No.
They could spend 3 months or 12 weeks there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, it really depends on lifestyle, number of weeks. Most people have 2 to 4 weeks off, and so the fraction works perfectly for their lifestyle if they're still working. The other thing is that you can rent your week. If you found that, hey, I can't go this week or I'm not using that week, a property like that will rent between $4,000 and $6,000 for a week. So, beautiful. That works just great.
Yeah, it does. So, in terms of renting, what risk would that be then to the other people that own? Because now I'm owning real estate with someone else.
Yes.
And now you've talked about that maybe you're going to rent out my property. Mm-hmm. So what's the risk there?
Well, I'm not going to rent out your property. You would rent out your week if you wanted to rent out your week. And you would take responsibility for that person. You take a security deposit. And the beauty is there's going to be someone that comes in at the end of the week that cleans the unit, checks if there's any maintenance issues, makes sure that nothing got damaged or broken.
Right, so it's kind of like having a property manager.
Yeah, kind of like that. But it's more like going to a resort where when you go there, the sheets are clean, the towels are clean, everything's clean. And when you leave, someone else cleans it up. Yes, you should put your dishes in the dishwasher and run the dishwasher, but there's going to be someone coming in there to make sure that when the next family arrives, they get the same experience that the first family got, so that it's pristine and wonderful. So you drive in, you can drop all the stress. You don't have anything to worry about except for maybe bringing your own food. We're also going to have storage locker facilities on site in the basement, so that things like, if you want to keep stuff up there, like life preservers or food, well, Depends on the food. It's got to be canned food. We don't want you to leave, your hamburger sitting on the floor in your locker. But you could leave some wine there or that sort of thing, so you don't have to travel back and forth with a ton
because
of
you'll
stuff.
be back again not that much further down the road.
Yeah. So this property, let me paint a little bit of a picture of it.
Go right ahead.
Because it's not built yet, it's all in my mind and in the architect's mind right now. We are starting to clear the lot. The lot is a 3-acre lot, and it will have a winding road up to it. Because it's fairly steep, we're about 100 feet above the road and 100 feet above the water. So we're on the plateau at the very top of, call it a mountain. I don't think 100 feet up is a mountain, but I'm going to call it a mountain.
But it feels like a mountain when you're up there.
And you'll wind up that way. It will have a 4-car garage. Then the view is going to be spectacular.
It is. It already is spectacular.
It is spectacular. There's a lot of trees. We'll thin out the trees that are struggling or not doing so well, so that we get a little more view and we don't have any trees that are going to fall on the property. And then think of the most gorgeous house you've ever seen, probably about 3,700 square feet, maybe 3,800 square feet, with a loft. So it's got a little balcony off the loft area. And the loft has a bridge which is open to the 2-story family room. The family room is vaulted ceiling with the wide beam and the decorative truss beam at the end. Beams that support that bridge. Then high quality granite countertops in the kitchen, beautiful ceramic floors. Hardwood floors, wood burning fireplace in that room, another one downstairs in the games room, which is going to be equipped with a pool table and shuffleboard. Just about anything you want is going to be in that home. The back of the basement, which is a walkout basement, by the way, so that it will be feeling like you're on the main level. We'll have a home theater room, decked right out with the latest technology and 16 theater seats so that you can have some guests over to watch a movie and just have a real fun time. It will be 6 bedrooms. There'll be 1 bedroom up in the loft area with a bathroom. You'll have 3 bedrooms on the main level, and then 2 more bedrooms in the basement with a bathroom.
When he says basement, he means lower level. It's not really a basement. It's a walkout, so it's really much lower level.
And it'll be like
really
a wall of glass on that,
right.
on that
so
wall.
So it's like a 3-story house, really.
When you look at it from the water,
From the water side.
Yes.
And 2 stories from the road side.
Yes. Exactly.
A nice view pretty much all the way around.
Yes, and lots of stone accents and lots of wood accents. Just a classy lake house that you would just love to call home, that you would love to bring your family or even bring a client up to as a special event. If you're a business owner, you could gift a week to one of your employees or give it away as a promotional piece. I plan on giving a week or 2 away to my pastor and the board of elders so that they can do a retreat, that kind of thing. It's just going to be a fabulous place to get away from it all. And there is cellular reception there.
Oh, so that's a bittersweet, actually.
It's a bittersweet, but for those people that have to be able to be reachable, there is great cellular reception up on the top of the mountain.
Yeah, on top of the hill. And it'll be in an area of similar type homes. There'll be lots of other interesting, unique architecture up there as well. There's already a little bit of construction that's taken place, so we're getting in really on the ground floor, which is always kind of exciting, which is the time where there's even room for more appreciation from a value perspective.
Yes, and if you like hockey, there's, depends on which team you like. Montreal Canadian player is on the lot right beside my lot. And there's a retired Montreal Canadian player a couple of doors down the opposite way who's bought a lot. Their houses are not built yet. But can you imagine shoveling off the river, because it freezes very well there, there isn't much current, and shoveling that off and having a game of scrimmy with one of the NHL players? Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, maybe they'll play with you, maybe they won't, Ken. They might be afraid they're going to hurt you.
Well, they might play with me, they'll probably have a beer afterward or something that might entice them.
Anyway, so any more details about this potential opportunity for folks that they would want to know about?
Well, if they want to get a hold of us, give us a call at 613-860-4663, and I'd be happy to take them up to Lac Ste. Marie, tour the property and look at the plans. There is not a website up yet because the architectural plans are still being drawn for the property, so people can get right in on the ground floor. And the nice thing is they don't need $150,000 right this moment because we're actually building it. We have a payment structure. It'd be $50,000 on signing that you want to go ahead with it, and then we would require $25,000 when the foundation goes in for the building. Another $25,000 when it's closed in, so it's got the roof and the windows in. Another $25,000 when the drywall is all on, and then $25,000 when it's finished. Now, when I talk finished, I mean like painted and trimmed and all that sort of stuff. And shortly thereafter, we'll be putting in very high quality beds. We don't want you to go to a cottage and come home and go, oh, my back hurts now. So we'll have very, very high quality beds, king beds, queens, and we'll have a couple of rooms with some single beds for the kids. High quality furnishings. There'll be TVs. There'll be the theater room, like I say, lots to do. It's just going to be decked out really, really well, decorated very nicely. And when I say decorated, I am a decker, so we know how to decorate.
I'm speechless. We usually get the decker jokes from others. We don't usually tell the decker jokes in our own home or in our own presence ourselves, but here we go. Ken can even tell a decker joke. Anyway, thank you for joining us on the Inside Track on Real Estate. It has been just really neat to connect with you about fractional ownership, and if there are still questions, which I suspect there are, if it's something new or if you're even just contemplating, is this something that would be a fit for us, then do give Ken a call. He certainly has the answers around it. And the neat thing with this particular opportunity, there are others we could introduce you to as well. We're starting to build a network of folks that are doing this kind of thing. So this isn't the only opportunity out there. It's just the one we're most excited about currently. And so even here you could give input into exactly what it's going to look like, even what the furnishings would be like. At this point, there's still lots of room for input.
Absolutely. And don't forget, Scavenger. We have the Ottawa homehunt.com. If you want to register, the prize is $10,000.
Hey, that would be a contribution toward a fractional ownership.
It would be. It'd be a good start on the down payment of it. Once again, it's ottawahomehunt.com. Go there, register. It's free. You need 2 participants over 18. You need a cell phone and a car. It's not a race. It's a scavenger hunt. So there'll be clues, there'll be there'll be prizes as well, but there'll be clues, and you gather points by the number of clues that you're able to answer. And Google is actually putting on the game. So anything that Google does, they do very well.
Right. So it's August 18th, 2012. Looking forward to seeing you there. Again, for questions, you can send them into Decker Team at CHRI. Thank you for joining us on the Inside Track on Real Estate, and we'll connect with you again soon.
Bye for now.